They say that foolish people are the cause of Buddhas, and Buddhas are the result of foolish people. If one examines this statement, one may realize that the thing that keeps us from enlightenment is the cause for our enlightenment. It seems that in order to affirm our identity as children of God, we need to first affirm what our identity is not. We need to fall for something so that we can get up again. And one of the ways that we fall is the way of addictions. From a certain point of view, addiction is another word for attachment. Instead of being a conduit of pure awareness, consciousness, and energy, we oftentimes attach ourselves to an idea, a substance, a connection, even to a teaching or a healing mantra. One can argue that addiction sits at the root of the human experience within the dimension of time and space. We are born into this world needing others, and so we are immediately introduced to the concept and the reality of attachment. Then our daily experience introduces us to different elements that we can become attached to. These can be in either side of the polarity spectrum, but they are essentially the same thing, an attachment. Addiction, as a way to look at attachment, is when we hit pause, and instead of being a conduit and a vessel for energy to flow through, we stop and attach onto something that takes the place of our identity as children of the one infinite creator. To attach onto something is to project oneself into a part of the whole and identify with it, thusly splitting oneself from our true infinite identity or oneness. Instead of being the conduit of our own identity, we choose attachment and addiction to a substance, to an image we have of ourselves, to the gossip, to the news, to a hobby, to a point of view, to a political stance. We give ourselves, our energy, our time, to whatever we are addicted to, and it gives us a fake sense of security, a fake identity to cling to and identify with. Like a drug, it further separates us from our other selves, from everything that we are. This type of attachment to an illusion would easily reveal itself to be an illusion if it weren't for the daily reminder of and daily partaking to this activity. Addictions work because we entertain them. We cannot stand the hunger pains they create, so we engage with them more. And the longer we do this, the further from our real identity we veer, and the harder it gets for one to find their way back. But there is always a way back, and this way back is a no way back, as we never truly separated from oneness, and we never truly veered from our real selves, all this being an illusion or a game of consciousness. Taking this as the higher level truth, we may still discuss that at the level of this polarity paradigm, attachment works its way to addiction, separation, and then to fear and war. Our own attachment severed us from the whole, and that is then reflected outward as separation and division within society on a planetary level. What we see externally is a reflection of our inner world, as within, so without. Within polarity, there are those that appear to sit on either side of the spectrum, and then there is the gray zone. Each and every one of us is a unique case, as each one lives in a unique reality, forging a unique path to source, while at the same time being a part of the collective journey. We navigate through spheres of information we attach to that seem to extend beyond our own influence. As one receives information from what is perceived to be one's external reality, one has the task of making decisions through discernment. But in a true Chinese whispers fashion, information goes through many mouths before it reaches one, and a service to self piece of information can be relayed as service to others and accepted as such by one, while at the same time, service to others information can be manipulated into sounding like it's coming from the service to self part of the equation. Manipulating information is being used to control the opinion of an individual, a group, or society as a whole to such an extent we oftentimes find it hard to see what is real and what is not, what has a pure energy and what aims at manipulating us. This phenomenon softly reveals the truth that polarity truly is the gray zone, in the sense that some things or people are not what they seem to be, nor can their function be comprehended within the grand scheme of an overall timeline. To manipulate one's opinion or stance or energy is a true art form, and certain individuals or groups have excelled at it. And they will use public figures that have been manipulated to manipulate the masses and force them to attach to a particular point of view or social stance. It can be overwhelming to navigate through a sea of potentially false information, but it was never any different. We just became aware of it. In this onslaught of contradicting information, one cannot afford the pastime of clinging or attaching oneself or becoming addicted to one thing. For in a state of flow, we are able to set our consciousness free and become all things, at all times, everywhere. We are not defined by one thing and are thus able to act as an emanation of oneness upon the earth plane, bringing forth codes of awakening to function as seeds of liberation. But if foolish people are the cause of Buddhas and Buddhas are the result of foolish people, then it follows that attachments are the cause of Buddhas and Buddhas are the result of attachments. We are what we grow beyond, they say, in this reality of time and space. Yet again, we return to the use of catalyst as a means of awakening. Following this line of thought, can we accept that everything is as it should be? We can argue for or against that statement, but one thing that is hard to argue about is that everything is as we create it. Various experiments have been carried out that suggest that the observer of the experiment influences its result. Our consciousness simply observing a process is affecting its outcome, an unconscious act that may become a conscious activity with cosmic parameters. Everything that is manifested in existence began as a thought. And what are the limits of thought? Exactly, there are none. Thought has no boundaries. One can say it is infinite. Our consciousness is infinite, so we must be. We are the creators of our own unique reality, as we are the co-creators of our collective reality, as our energy ripples through the cosmos. For unattached and unfettered, we become one unified planetary consciousness that then joins an even larger galactic one. Imagine infinity, or the light, projecting itself through a prism, creating infinite individual rays. If that is an attempt at spiritually describing consciousness emanating from Source, then our consciousness uniting with larger and greater groups or oversouls may be seen as a step-by-step return to or uniting with Source. Our physical bodies consist of billions of cells, and similarly, we are the physical cells of a larger body of matter, just as our consciousness is part of a larger consciousness family or oversoul. We truly are all things at all times, everywhere. And when we are all things, we are essentially a vessel of oneness, free, sovereign, and complete.